next speaker is someone who works with organizations just like Jelgavas typography from day to day, someone who is battling ransomwares a very long time, and practically we can call him the veteran of the digital Wild West. Some call him the ransomware sommelier. I like this title very much because he's been working with some ransomware and intelligence security specialists for more than 30 years. So he's here today to talk about social engineering, AI, and ransomware, and exploring how AI can empower threat actors, why outsourced help desks are at risks, and what we can do and all the organizations can do in order to stay ahead. Please welcome Allan Liska.
Is there a clicker or? Thank you. First, I do want to apologize. I am very American, so I'm going to drop a lot of y'alls in my presentation today. Hopefully, you can forgive me for that. So yeah, we're going to talk about social engineering, AI, and ransomware. A little bit about me. I'm a field CISO at Recorded Future. I wrote a book on ransomware, and when that didn't take, I wrote a comic book on ransomware. That also didn't take because ransomware attacks keep going. So I'm just going to keep writing books, comic books, maybe make a movie, a play, something until we finally stop. And I am starting to be convinced that everything is ransomware. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to say because there are nation-state attacks, there are other kinds of attacks, but everything ultimately seems to lead back to ransomware. And this year, everything seems to lead back to these bastards. Can I say bastards? Okay, great. Because I hate these bastards. And all of these headlines are from the last month. These are like, it's the Instagram generation of ransomware groups in terms of how many headlines they grab. And in particular, I want to talk about how their success has influenced some of the Russian ransomware gangs, the ones that have been around for a long time, and that's going to lead into a discussion of how these Russian ransomware gangs are using AI to try and carry out some of the same kind of attacks that these guys do. First of all, just to make sure we're all on the same page, do you all know who these people are? Raise your hands. Okay. So Scattered Lapsus Hunters is a Western-based ransomware group's not even kind of the right term. They are attention-seeking teenagers that carry out cyber attacks that sometimes involve encryption, sometimes involve extortion, sometimes just involve chaos. And by Western-based, I mean every one of them that we've arrested has been either a US or a UK citizen, and they've all been in their late teens, early 20s when we've arrested them. So this particular group came about in 2025, and it's the remnants of 3 different groups, Scattered Spider, Lapsus, and Shiny Hunters. And all 3 of those groups came out of a nexus, a communication channel called COM. And what COM is it is a Telegram, among other things, channel where a bunch of teenagers hang out, and it starts with gaming hacks and then eventually leads to the bigger things. So, you've got young kids playing Roblox and they want to get free Roblox things, and so they sign up to this channel and they figure out how they can hack the system to get free Roblox things and then maybe free Minecraft things. And then they're paying somebody to throw a brick through one of the other players' windows, and then they're carrying out cyber crimes that take down major casinos and disrupts all of Salesforce customers, etc. Where they have seen a lot of their success, and again, this started with Lapsus, has followed Scattered Spider and Shiny Hunters, is through help desks. So either pretending to be somebody, an employee calling the help desk, or pretending to be the help desk calling an employee. And that makes them a little bit unusual because most ransomware attacks are opportunistic. Bad guys focus on vulnerabilities, whatever those vulnerabilities are. So it could be an exploit that they go after. It could be, oh, hey, we have a username and password. We can log right in, successful phishing email, etc. What these guys do is they say, hey, we want to go after NVIDIA. So that was one of the companies they targeted early on. They go to LinkedIn, and they're like, oh, okay, here's all the people from LinkedIn that work at NVIDIA. Do we have somebody who would probably have the right kind of access, and can we get their password reset? And then they start calling the help desk, pretending to be that person, trying to get them to reset the password. Because of the nature of the comm group, they're really good at things like SIM swapping. So they've taken that SIM swapping knowledge and used it to carry out these kind of attacks. And that makes them really, really hard to defend against because it's not necessarily a technical solution. There isn't a firewall setting you can put in there. This goes back to the thing that we all hate trying to do, and that's awareness training. Trying to teach your help desk to be better aware of when, hey, maybe that's not the person calling who they say they are, or conversely, yeah, maybe that's not the help desk, trying to teach employees that maybe that's not the help desk. And what works for them is because they are UK and US citizens, when they call up the help desk, it's a little disarming, right? Like if a Russian dude calls you up at 2 a.m. and says, give me password, you're going to be on alert. I mean, that's just the reality. Some British dude calls up and says, hey, I need the password reset, mate. Mate, that's what the British people say, right? Then yeah, you're much more likely to do it. And that has really worked in their favor. And they're very amorphous. So there are tens of thousands of people in the comm group. Not all of them are part of this group, but enough of them kind of come and go, and there's enough overlap between them that it's that you can basically always have enough people in there that you can carry out these attacks even when people get arrested. You know, it's like several years ago when we're like, oh, we arrested the head of Al-Qaeda, and then a new head of Al-Qaeda came up. Well, it's the same thing with these guys. That they've arrested about a dozen of them, and they keep growing and getting faster and faster. And they suck up all of the media attention because everything they do is, like a lot of teenagers, they have no fear, so everything they do is audacious and loud and obnoxious. But the thing is, despite how prolific they've been in the last few months, they don't even crack the top 5 in terms of actual numbers of ransomware attacks. So they're getting a lot of attention, and they're getting a lot of notoriety, but they're not necessarily carrying out the most ransomware attacks. And because this comes up quite often, I'm going to lump in ransomware attacks that involve encryption as well as attacks that involve data theft and extortion. So, there's a lot of different approaches to that. Some companies tag those differently because when there's no encryption, it's not really a ransomware attack, it's just an extortion attack and where the data came from, etc. For now, we're just going to lump all these into one because either way, it's devastating, whether they've just stolen your data or whether they've encrypted and stolen your data. Mandiant calls them something extortion group. I don't remember exactly, but Mandiant's got a really long name for them. So I just use ransomware because I don't like really long names. And CrowdStrike's probably too busy building a action figure of them to be able to come up with a new name. So, so even though Scattered Spider broadly isn't carrying out, or Scattered Lapsus Hunters isn't actually carrying out that many attacks compared to other ransomware groups, they are getting a lot of attention. So this is how, one of the ways the Scattered Spider desk works. So, and this came from Hyper. The link's down at the bottom. If you want to read the article, I recommend it. It's really good. So what they'll do is, in the case of Okta, they would target known Okta customers. And again, that's one of these things where that data is just publicly available. You can find it on LinkedIn. You can find it on press releases. You might be able to find it in, on other sites. You may be able to find it from the Okta site. Hey, who are our best customers, et cetera. And I'm going to say a lot of bad things about LinkedIn today. I'm not suggesting that you ban employees from LinkedIn. I'm not suggesting that either. But it is something to think about as you are preparing your security guidelines for employees, is how much information should people expose on their LinkedIn accounts? Because we know that the bad guys target that, and we know they can use that data to get specific people that they want to go after. So again, they take known Okta customers. They use social engineering to convince IT service desk personnel they are an employee, and they gain access to Okta. Once they basically have Okta, they escalate their privileges, and they use that to gain access to the system, and that gives them basically access to everything they need. Same thing with the Salesforce attacks that have been in the news recently. So, it's almost the exact same attack, only using Salesforce, only getting data from Salesforce instead. And again, this came from App Omni. This is a really good blog. The link's down at the bottom. I recommend checking it out. It has a really nice overview of how all that works. And so again, the opposite of that is when they target employees pretending to be the help desk. And we've seen this not just with these guys, but also with campaigns like Black Basta. So Black Basta is a Russian-based ransomware group. And what they've done is they flood the victims with emails, and then they call that victim pretending to be the help desk and say, hey, we're seeing notifications that you're getting inundated with emails. I need to log into your system in order to fix that, in order to put a block in place or whatever. And they do that, and of course, instead, what they're doing is they're installing their malware and taking ownership of the network. But again, this is where that really targeted methodology works, because they find an employee that they think this will work on, flood them with the email, and then just give them a call pretending to be from the help desk, and use that to gain access. Now, this is where AI comes in, because as I said in the beginning, if you are a Russian dude calling up an employee trying to pretend to be from the help desk, then you're likely going to be met with some suspicion. Unfortunately, with the ability to use real-time AI, voice changing, they're able to script out exactly what they want to say to the employees in whatever accent they want. So it can be French, it can be German, it can be English, it can be British, whatever British English is. And not only can they do that over voice, which is primarily how we've seen them do it, but we're also seeing some of these other criminals start to do this over video as well. And the problem with the deepfake video is it's readily available on Google Play. This is not like high-end technology that it takes an experienced hacker to use or somebody with a lot of resources. This is an app you can download from the Google Play Store, and you can pretend to be the point behind them is you can trick your friends by pretending that it's Sandra Bullock or somebody calling them. And I realize I use Sandra Bullock, and that is probably a really old reference. Taylor Swift. You can pretend to be Taylor Swift calling them or something like that. I'm an old man. Forgive me. My references are all old. But it's not just with the. It's not just to gain access and trick them with the help desk scams. We're also seeing the AI-enhanced phishing as a service carry out these attacks in native languages in ways that we haven't seen before. Proofpoint has a really good blog, and I recommend looking it up. I didn't include the link here. I should. But Proofpoint has a really good blog on the number of phishing campaigns they've seen in languages that they've never seen before. And that's because they can use a service like Darkula, which is what this AI-enhanced phishing service is called. And how dare you take Dracula's name in vain, but whatever. I guess if bad guys aren't going to respect your data or your property, they're not going to respect Dracula either. So they're seeing more phishing campaigns in Hungarian, in Hebrew, targeting some countries in Africa in their native languages, etc. And the LLMs can easily translate that, and it seems almost natural and native. So yes, we're seeing the help desk scams at the kind of high end. But then even for initial access, and as the previous as the previous talk mentioned, this isn't super complicated. This isn't something that's like, you have to be an Uber hacker to do. This is $300 a month to rent this infrastructure. So, for most people, for less than the price of a car payment, you can send out several million emails a month in whatever language you choose. And so that's how easy it is to get access. You don't have to be that sophisticated. And that goes along with everything else that we're seeing in terms of AI enhancing the cyber attack chain, basically. We're seeing AI being used in reconnaissance, mapping out valid credentials. We've seen bad guys using AI to sift through stolen data looking for valuable information. We've seen it for trying to figure out defensive evasion, for discovery once they're inside the network. Really interesting. I was not a ransomware case. This was actually a nation-state case, and the nation-state actor was on their keyboard. This particular nation-state relies heavily on living off the land, and I guess this guy was new and didn't know exactly how to run the commands, so he kept asking ChatGPT how to run the commands while he was in the middle of an operation. So it's not just the cyber criminals, that just happens to be my focus, but it's also nation-state actors that are using this as well. We also see this in ransomware negotiations. So for the longest time, ransomware negotiations basically were, guy typed up what he wanted to say in Russian, ran it through Google Translate, and then would paste it into the negotiation window. But now we're starting to see them use things like ChatGPT and other LLMs to handle the negotiation. The funny side effect of that is, and I've talked to several ransomware negotiators about this, but don't tell the bad guys I'm telling you this. these LLMs are people pleasers. And they want to come up with the sort of the solution that's going to make the people the happiest. So the ransomware negotiators, once they figure out that the attacker is using an LLM, will craft their responses in a way to elicit a very specific response from ChatGPT or whatever LLM they're using in order to get a better deal for the victim in cases where they have to pay the ransom. And I find that fascinating that while the bad guys are using this tool to try and negotiate better, the negotiators, and every ransomware negotiator I've ever met is absolutely brilliant, have figured out ways to take advantage of the fact that they're using this to better their position for when they have to. So we're basically seeing AI being used all along the kill chain process by ransomware groups and by other threat actors. Now, how do you go about stopping that? Well, a lot of it is what we discussed in the last session. The threat is still roughly the same. It's just a matter of having the right protections in place and knowing that each of the bad guys has a phone a friend that they can use while they're in the middle of an operation. But it doesn't change broadly how you defend your network. That stays the same. You need to basically do better asset management, making sure that you're patching your vulnerabilities. You need to do better identity management, making sure that when leaked credentials show up in the underground forum, you're getting those passwords changed quickly, and better data management. Because like Shiny Lapses, Hunters, and many of the other ransomware groups, a lot of them are data theft only now, not engaging in any encryption. And the thing about data theft is it doesn't matter where that data is. All that matters is that it has your name on it, and you're the one that's going up on the site. So, like you said, I've been doing this for a really, really long time. I'm tired. And for all the time that I've been in security, data governance hasn't really been a security problem. I mean, inside the network, yes, making sure it's secure, et cetera, but data governance has largely been a GRC problem. But now data governance is your problem because all of your data is in all of your different cloud providers, and not nobody, but a lot of times that is not very well tracked. So when somebody hits one of your partners or vendors and suddenly your data is leaked, even though traditionally data governance has been a GRC problem, the CEO is going to come to you and go, hey, why was our data stolen? And so if you're not already thinking about how in security you can help with data governance, it is something you need to think about because, unfortunately, that is where this is going forward. So all of those things have always been things that we've had to worry about. The new things we need to think about are how we better train both the help desk and the people who may get calls from the help desk, and how that kind of awareness training can go about and be useful. And I know a lot of people, when you hear awareness training and you think of like phishing training, everybody rolls their eyes and like, well, that doesn't work. How is this awareness training going to work? And I'm not sure. I don't have a good answer for that. That's why these guys get so much attention, because so far it hasn't worked very well. But it is something you need to be thinking about, is how you're going to do that awareness training and what you can do to limit the ability of these bad guys to even investigate your network. And that's all I have. And I think we have a few minutes for questions, if that's okay.
That's exactly what we do.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all for attending. And this is an amazing stage. I love this stage so much.
Right?
Yeah, I want to take it home and put it in my room because it's just so cool.
We can discuss that later. Are there any questions from the room? Yes, there is one.
Just a moment.
Hey,
Hi.
you asked a question last time.
Yeah.
Are you a ringer?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Thanks. Many thanks for the presentation. So my question is the following. If any of the bad actors or group of cybercrime professionals would ask you to sign the copy of your book, and you need to sign it for them without using the word bastard, so what will be the message you will just share with your signature?
Sure. Any threat actor that wants to sign my book, I will tell them I will happily meet them in Warsaw and sign it then. I promise I won't bring law enforcement with me. So what I would sign in their book is enjoy 30 years in jail.
Very good question. Here's another question at the end of the row, here on the right.
I like that you're making him run.
Yep. We need another question here, so think quick.
I've asked personal question. Did you ever fall for phishing call? And if not, then what was the funniest or coolest one which you had?
So no, because I don't answer my email or my phone.
At all?
I'm notorious for that.
I know, he's talking right, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I am absolutely terrible at that. I have to be nudged in 3 different ways before I respond to something. So if I were to do it, I would need somebody dressed up as Batgirl holding a bottle of 2005 Chateau Margaux. I would open and click on whatever they want in that email. If you're looking for phishing, as far as the funniest ones, it's actually been much more interesting now that so with the comic book. Now that I own a comic book company, on the side, I get so many phishing emails to that box, and I wish I could do something, because if I'm getting them there, I imagine all of the other small business owners are getting the same thing, and that's just an area I had never explored before. And so now I want to do more to help small business owners, because I think that's a really underserved population.
Very good question. Do we have another question here from? Yes, we do. Thank you. Yeah.
Where's the hand? Oh, right, thank you.
There, yeah.
You said to make him run to the other side.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
Thanks for the presentation, Alan.
Thank you.
My question is more of a technical side. So in the initial access, it has been described, and it keeps going on over and over in the news, as you said, like they are stealing the headlines. And yet, if you read about their activities, there is very, very little publicly known about what happens after that initial access. Do you have any insight into that? I mean, historically, Scattered Spider was associated with Black Cat, serving as their affiliate. That's no longer the case, but if you have any insight into that, thank you.
So we see a lot of the same things that we see in... so these guys aren't original. They're very good at what they do when they get in the help desk, but then literally they're just grabbing the manuals that are already on the forum. So we see Cobalt Strike with them, and insist on using Cobalt Strike. It's fascinating. I told the story at another conference where an initial access broker gained access and then installed another beacon to call out. The guy that was handed over to didn't like that, so he uninstalled it and installed Cobalt Strike, because that's what he knows and he's comfortable with. Just like us, these guys get in their routine. So when I see Scattered Spider, and of course, because there are so many of them, each one's a little bit different, but it's Cobalt Strike, it's Mimikatz, it's AU Kill, it's kind of the same tools that you expect to see. So once they're in the network, it's actually, the threat hunting part is actually fairly easy to catch them. It's that initial access that's novel and is much harder to detect against. But if detecting Cobalt Strike was easy, everybody would do it, and so on. So I say it's easy. It's not easy, but it is easier than detecting the initial access. Does that make sense? Absolutely. Cool.
We have one more question here on the left.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I'm doing cybersecurity awareness trainings for non-technical teams. And talking about social media such as LinkedIn, which can be our friend and also enemy. So sometimes for fun, I use Austin tools to, find about people. And obviously now and even more, the social engineering using tools that will be more profiled. So what would be your suggestion? How much because, as I said, social media could be our friend, as I also promote my services and so on, but also enemy, because someone can also target me. Right. Like now I published I'm in cybersecurity cyberchess event, you know. So what would be your suggestion regarding how much we share?
You know, so LinkedIn in particular is filled with so much AI slop now that, you know, share whatever you want. Just make it all written by AI and you're fine. You know, I think the important thing is you obviously have to tie your affiliate to your company. So that already is a big help to them. And you can't change that. But maybe limiting your specialty. So you don't necessarily want to say, oh yeah, I'm an Okta engineer. You know, change that to IAM engineer or something like that, right? You don't want to do specifics. And I know that's really hard to tell an employee who may be looking for another job down the road and they want to have all the keywords in their LinkedIn profile, but it does keep you safer if you can encourage employees, and never force them, but if you can encourage employees to be much more generic in their descriptions of what their day-to-day tasks are. Does that make sense? You know, and again, I know we can't force people to do that, but those are the kind of guidelines that we try and relay to people.
So basically be more mysterious, yeah?
Right, exactly. You know, and that's the thing. Tell them that maybe they'll be more attractive to a new employer if there's a little mystery in there.
Very good, very good. And we have a final question here from the room on the other side. Sorry, yes. A little bit working for you.
You rock.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, so based on your experience, what would be like the 3 key tips you would suggest to new professionals trying to enter the cybersecurity field in order to succeed?
You know, I get asked that a lot, and you know, my honest answer is be an old white guy because it's worked for me. Unfortunately, that doesn't help anyone else. What I tell people, and I get asked to speak at colleges all the time, is the job, if you are in college now, your cybersecurity job probably doesn't exist yet. Your cybersecurity job is going to be around in 2 or 3 years or 5 years, or this is a rapidly changing industry. What I tell people is network, because that is the biggest thing that you can do. You having a great profile on LinkedIn, having a great blog, doing all these labs and so on, if nobody sees it, it doesn't matter. So you need a mentor and you need to network. Go to things like this.
Exactly.
I love B-Sides. B-Sides are amazing events, and so I encourage people to do that. I have 3 or 4 people that I mentor, and you know, and what I tell them is my job is to help them get treated like an old white guy. I introduce them to friends that I have that can help them, and so on, and help build those relationships. But this industry is built on relationships, and you have to have those good relationships. And I know that's only one thing, but honestly, my experience has been that has been the most important thing is to have those relationships and you know, make those introductions. Does that make sense? Cool.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Allan, and thank you for, despite all the delayed flights and everything in the middle, on all the messy life, you succeedingly, you came in during that time, you delivered, and so many questions, and thank you for that. You have a little bit present from us as well
This
to remember us
amazing.
by.
I love it.
Thank you
very
so much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.